Now, it's not every day that you get to interview a Jill of all trades. I'm talking about Elizabeth Zogalis. She's a reporter and producer with 1310 News in Ottawa, and you can also find her dishing about hockey. Yes, I said hockey, ladies, among her other hosting duties. We're so excited to have her here and interview her for She's4Sports, so let's get right into the interview. There's some stats out there with the NFL, obviously that's football, that show that 50% of their fan base are made up of women. And sometimes when you tell people like 50% is a pretty big stat, most people are surprised about this, but why? Why do you think so?
50% is half, which means just as many men are watching football as women, or vice versa. Even when I read that stat, because I actually read an article, must have been about 2 years ago, and it said that the viewership of the NFL was increasing faster for women than it was for men. And I was even surprised for that. And I'm a woman and I watch NFL football. Why does it come to a surprise for most people? Because you don't think women really like football. It's a rough sport. It is basically a bunch of men running around hitting each other. That's really what it is. I think the viewership is increasing because I think women are changing. We're not, as cliche as this sounds, we're not sitting in a kitchen anymore and getting married young and having babies, because I think once you do that, I mean, your life kind of changes. There's nothing wrong with it, but your life changes. So we're just getting more interested in different things, and sports is one of them. I can't say this, obviously those numbers are coming out of the States. That's not Canadian. The culture is different down there. You grow up with high school football, you grow up with college football. It's only normal that you would get into the NFL. Here in Canada, there are definitely not that many women who watch football. I look for them every day, and I can't find many of them. I know you would agree.
We're like, who wants to go watch a football game with us?
Especially having grown up in Montreal, it's not a big football city. I only really actually got into football a few years ago, having moved to Ontario. It is surprising, and I will fully admit that, but I think it's a good thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I hope nobody's batting an eye at it.
Now, you mentioned that things have changed for women. Obviously, we're not in the kitchen. Some people might even say roles have changed between, partners if you're married. But who is this female sports fan? I think there's still... Do you think there are some misconceptions? Like, who is this woman?
I don't even know who I am. I think it's taken me I've always been a fan of sports. And I think when you grow up liking sports, it starts off, you're active, you're running outside, you're playing around, you start playing with the boys. And this is long before you start looking at boys as, ooh, boys. You don't know the difference. You just think, I want to do what they're doing. I think as you get older, you start to change your views on sports. And it depends if you're an athlete or not. If you're an athlete, you're definitely looking at sports one way. If you're not, you're looking at it solely as a fan thing and an entertainment thing. The female sports fan is different from the male sports fan. We do pay attention to different things. I think we watch the game differently. And I think it brings a different dynamic to the table when you're a woman and you're watching it with a guy. I think the man has his own way of watching sports with a bunch of other guys. Women don't have that. That's the big thing, is women can't just call up their friends and be like, yo, come over to my house, I want to watch the game tonight, regardless of what sport it is. And yes, of course there are women like that, 100%.
But it's challenging, though.
Exactly.
It is.
Exactly. We don't watch as much, we can't read about it as much, because we do have other female friends who aren't interested in that stuff. So I think it's hard to explain who the woman, who the female fan is, because I don't think we even really know what it is. I will tell you personally, I love sports because, the entertainment value, of course. You're proud to when your city is playing. I mean, I'm a Habs fan, so it's a little different now living in Ottawa. I can't cheer for the home team. But it's the raw emotion of sports that I think is what I can identify with. There are religious people in the world, and I think I can understand where they're coming from when they care so passionately about, their religion. That's how I feel about sports. Your favorite player or your team goes and comes back from 2-goal deficit or 2 touchdowns or in baseball they're down 8 runs and all of a sudden they make a crazy inning and they come back from behind. I don't understand how people can't find that exciting, whereas I live for that.
And there's a lot of David and Goliath, matchups. There is the team that's never won before in since 70, 50 years, and then they win. And I think, for me, I just like the fact that it brings people together.
Yes.
That's
okay. You know
one.
what? Okay, that's interesting that you say that. That's a huge one. There's now a movement to take away the Canadian anthem or the American anthem. I think it's on both sides, but people seem to think that we shouldn't be singing the national anthem at a sporting event. And I'm not I'm patriotic, but I'm not crazy or anything. And there's just something about standing in a hockey arena. We'll say I'm at the Bell Center. There's over 23,000 fans there. You get up, and you realize as you're singing your country's national anthem, you're looking around, you're thinking, I'm so lucky. I am so lucky that I could pay $80 for this ticket. I can drink a $12 beer. I'm safe. I have nothing to worry about. When I leave this place, I get to be, downtown Montreal, where I, as a woman, do not have to walk around covered. No one's bombing us. No one hates us. There's just something about that 1 minute of singing that anthem that makes me realize how lucky we are. It's bringing everybody together, and especially in Montreal because of the language issues and all that.
Yeah.
When you go to a Habs game, you're a Habs fan, and that's it.
It's a really good way of, sort of articulating all of it and just sort of feeling as a person who likes sports that it's inclusive. You're included, and we're all sort of cheering for the same team. We sort of touched on progress for women. You'll see, I think there was an article that came out the other day about a baseball athlete who's now making, I think, $1 million. And obviously we know the U.S. soccer team is pushing for equal pay. Yep. So we do see some things progressing. Some people might think the progress is slow, but sometimes for some people progress is progress.
Yeah.
What's your take on the broadcasting industry? I know you're a producer for radio, but in general it's broadcasting. Are we there yet in terms of progress for women getting the same respect as men?
There's been a ton of progress, but we're not there yet. I don't do TV like some women do. I'm not a sports anchor. I know many of them from just being in the industry for as long as I've been. Not that it's been that long, but the things that they have to put up with from emails and listeners and Twitter. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
ESPN. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
That's reality, right?
That's reality, but I also think that's the worst end of the scale, whereas the average, somewhere in the middle, as a woman, you're getting commented on what you're wearing. A man isn't going to get that. And it was very hard for me to accept, and I've only been accepting this probably for the past year. I used to think, no, we're women, we're equal. I don't think that we're actually underpaid, or I don't think that men have it better than us. But I think now with social media and the push to show how crappy women actually have it, I think I'm starting to realize, wait a second, it's starting to open my eyes to it a lot. Even in my own newsroom, I'm not naming names or saying anything like that, but there has been incidents where I have tried to jump in on a conversation with a couple of the guys talking sports, and they just kind of stare at me and walk away, and that's where the conversation stops. And I don't think it's a personal. Well, at first I actually thought it was personal, and I would be okay with it if it was personal, because then you think, okay, it's something I said, it's something I did, but it makes it hard because you know what? It's because I'm a woman, and they don't want to talk about sports with a woman.
But why? As I said, there has been some progress. There's tons of women anchors in the States and here who, know their stuff. Mm-hmm. And you did sort of touch on the pressure for you to look a certain way. Oh, yeah. I know that's more probably for broadcast, but I don't know. Is that the same for radio?
Okay, so the pressure to look a certain way, I hope I hope it will be changing soon. I think social media and let's face it, social media can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but I think there are good things about social media, and I think the push to feel more comfortable about our bodies, and we're not all supermodels, we're not all stick thin. I think that will slowly translate onto television, but women in sport, that will always come after, because I think the original thinking behind putting a woman at a desk to read sports was, okay, she at least has to be good looking.
Yeah. People will tune in.
Yeah, right. I think that's going to change now, and I think it has changed. You have Kate Burness or Ivanka Osmak. Those women know their stuff. And I'm keeping this to Canadian. If you want to go down into the American market, you've got radio stars like Amy Lawrence, who does CBS Overnight. She has her own show. She's phenomenal. You have Maggie Gray, who has a show on CBS, and she's also a writer for Sports Illustrated. These women know more sports than most men that I know.
And stats and all those things.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unreal what these women talk about, and they're so engaging.
Do you think men are intimidated?
I do. And I think because the men at the top, or the people at the top are men, I think they're the ones making the decisions. I really, really do. I don't want to say I have it the same as TV people, because I don't. But coming from a radio perspective, there's been times where I will try to network with certain people who I work with, and it looks strange because I'm a young woman and the person might be an older man, and all I can think of is people must think I'm either sleeping with this man or I'm trying to sleep with him so I can get ahead, and a man would never have to put up with that.
Yeah, or even think about that.
Or even think about it. A man would be able, my hockey host, who is an older gentleman, offers me hockey tickets all the time and says, hey, let's go to a hockey game. And I have to say no a lot of the time, because all I can think of is, well, that's just strange. What are people going to think? What is he thinking? Yeah. I don't know what he's thinking.
You're like, I just like the game.
Yeah.
I just want to go watch some hockey.
A man wouldn't have to think that, and a man could network with him, and he can introduce me to other people in the industry, because that's what really this is all about. It's all about networking to get ahead. A man would never have to worry about what other people are thinking, regardless of age. But I do.